This is a brand new story you may not have heard about because it happened today. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, signing into this state law, a bill, which doesn't have a lot of wiggle room. It requires all presidential candidates, and they mean all presidential candidates, to release 5 years of income taxes or, and this is why it hits them where it counts, or get kicked off the ballot.
Yeah, because there aren't enough ballot access restrictions as it is.
This is the first law of its kind to be put anywhere on the books in the nation, and it would appear to be a direct response to, yes, the obvious Trumpy reality of a president in office running for re-election without ever releasing tax returns.
So this is an invalid law because it's targeted at a specific person. It's not written that way, and he denies that it is, but that is the intent. And courts do take the intent of the law into account. This is to keep Trump off the ballot. They're not making any bones about it. In a properly functioning justice system, this wouldn't last 2 seconds in the court. But who wants to bet they've already got their own judges stacked in place?
The president hasn't really faced any direct repercussions for this secrecy.
Well, it certainly didn't affect his performance on the ballot. Maybe people just don't care about this, and this whole thing is just another manufactureversy?
Maybe that would change here, because this law in California is not just for the future down the road, future presidents, etc. No, it would clearly, in the way it's written, apply to this president as well.
Which means it's a violation of the Constitution's prohibition of ex post facto laws. Oh, but don't worry. That's not the last of the constitutional violations we'll be seeing.
And joining us now is Gavin Newsom, Democratic governor of the state of California.
I think it's appropriate, not just under the circumstances, but because norms have been challenged since 1973. Every elected president has provided for their tax returns. We're now in a position where we feel California needs to lead in the absence of federal government requiring the same of the current president and potentially future presidents.
Here's a question. California's 55 electoral votes are pretty much certain to go to whoever the Democratic candidate is. So why should Trump care?
You mentioned the current president. You say norms have been challenged. So this is targeting Donald Trump?
No, I mean, no more than it's targeting me. If I choose to run for re-election, I would be required to do the same. It's politically neutral. It's party neutral.
So you're really expecting us to believe you'd be passing this exact same law if a Democrat were president? Just how stupid do you think we are? Of course, this is the same network that's still clinging to the Trump-Russia conspiracy garbage, so that probably tells you what you need to know.
People watching would say it does look like it's going after Trump.
Well, look, bottom line, we believe in transparency.
Do you believe in the Constitution? Because Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 of the Constitution says that the only criteria to be eligible for the presidency is to be a natural-born citizen, to be at least 35 years old, and to have lived in the U.S. for 14 years. That's it. It doesn't give the states any power to tack on any additional requirements.
The fact is, we need to lead on the issue of conflicts. We need to lead on making sure the American people know if individuals in positions like mine or the President of the United States himself is self-dealing. Conflicts of interest are real.
Again, the American people didn't seem to care too much about it in 2016. And besides, I have to point it out again. People do not vote for the president. They vote for a slate of electors, and the 12th Amendment makes it clear that it's the electors who create the ballots when they meet, and they transmit their votes sealed to the President of the U.S. Senate, meaning that the states shouldn't even be able to tell how these electors voted, much less limit their options in any way.
But I think it's the right thing to do.
Tell us, Newsom, do you actually care about the voters? Because that's what this is really about. It's not about the right of Trump or whoever to get on the ballot and the procedures he needs to do that. It's about the right of the people to choose whomever they want. They should be allowed to choose electors for absolutely anyone who's over 35, a natural-born citizen, and lived in the U.S. for 14 years. You have no basis legally or morally to restrict their choices in any way. And yes, that means that all of the other ballot access restrictions in California and every other state, anything that stops the people from choosing whomever they want as president, is not only hideously immoral, it is, dare I say it, fascist.
And in terms of how the state law works,
State law does not override the Constitution.
this is for the primaries. It's not, as I understand, for the general election. Is that right?
That's correct.
A distinction without a difference. If you'll only let those who win the primaries be on the general election ballot for their parties, it's fascistic election tampering and nothing more. The people vote for the electors. The electors decide who's the president. You should have nothing whatsoever to do with it. The Constitution was designed specifically to prevent this sort of thing. But I guess if this does work, I should thank you for once again verifying that Lysander Spooner was right when he said that the Constitution has either authorized such a government as we have had, or has been powerless to prevent it. In either case, it is unfit to exist. And that goes for the governments it created. All of them, including yours, Newsom. Hey, thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe and keep these videos coming by donating, becoming a subscriber and getting special benefits, or even for free with airtime. And check out all the great content here, like this video selected just for you.